Seraphine Voss had a gift for going unnoticed. She had spent 7 years perfecting it. Quiet shoes, a desk in the back corner of the Capitol archives, hair pinned up in a way that said, "I am a person who files things and nothing else." She arrived before anyone else, and left after everyone had gone. She ate lunch over open survey maps. She knew the name of every border river in the kingdom, and the name of almost no one who lived near them. This was, she had decided at 16, the safest way to live. The archives were 3 floors underground, beneath the King's Hall. Cool stone walls, the smell of old paper and wax. 12,000 years of territorial records, stacked and sorted and cross-referenced by a staff of 4, of whom Sarah was both the youngest and the most careful. She did not make mistakes. She did not leave early. She did not draw attention. She was perfectly, quietly, invisibly fine. That was the plan anyway. The plan ended on a Tuesday. She was refiling a set of southern border surveys, beautiful ones, ink still crisp, from a cartographer who had died 200 years ago and whose handwriting she had always privately admired, when the door at the top of the stairs opened, and someone came down who was not her coworker Bryn, who was not the supply runner, and who was not, by any reasonable expectation, the alpha king of the 7 territories. And yet, he was tall in a way that made the archive ceiling look lower. Dark coat, no crown, but that meant nothing. He moved like a man who had never once in his life had to check if there was room for him. He looked around the room with the particular expression of someone who had made a wrong turn and was not going to admit it. Sarah set the survey down. The mate bond fired. It was not, as the old stories described it, like moonlight, or music, or something lifting in the chest. It was more like stepping off a bottom stair you didn't know was there. A lurch, a sudden rearrangement of the air. Her inkpot slid off the edge of the desk and hit the stone floor, and spread in a dark, slow circle, and she watched it go, and she thought, "I should clean that up before it stains." She thought about nothing else for several seconds. "I believe," said the king, looking at her, "I've taken a wrong corridor." "Yes," Sarah said. He did not move. She did not move. The ink kept spreading. His name was Caelum Draven. She knew this, the way she knew the names of border rivers. From records, from documents, from a careful professional distance. She had filed 3 separate treaties that bore his seal. She had never expected to be in the same room as the seal. "You're the records keeper," he said. "One of them. I'm looking for the East Wing deliberation chamber. 3rd floor up, left at the wolf head column. Don't take the staircase with the blue tile. It goes to the kitchens." He nodded slowly. He was still looking at her in a way she did not like, which was to say, a way that suggested he was actually seeing her. "Thank you," he said. He left. Sarah stood very still for a moment. Then she got down on her hands and knees and mopped up the ink with the cloth she kept in her bottom drawer for exactly this kind of accident, because she was a person who prepared for spills. She did not think about what had just happened. She thought about it all night. He came back the next morning. Alone, again. No guards at the archive door, which was unusual enough that Bryn whispered about it for 20 minutes before Sarah sent her to recatalog the northern survey room just to get some quiet. Caelum sat down across from her desk, with the careful posture of a man trying very hard not to seem like he was taking up too much space, which was somewhat ruined by the fact that he was taking up quite a lot of space regardless. "You know what happened yesterday," he said. "I filed 6 surveys after you left," Sarah said. "I'm not sure which event you're referring to." He looked at her steadily. The bond. There it was. She had a response prepared. She had prepared it at 3 in the morning, lying flat on her back on her floor, because her bed had felt like too much commitment. She said it now, clearly and without drama. "I know the old refusal. I'll speak it if you'd like. It dissolves the claim." He was quiet for a moment. "You want to refuse?" "I think it's the practical choice." "For whom?" She looked up from the treaty she was pretending to read. He was watching her with the kind of attention she'd spent years avoiding. Patient, direct, the kind that didn't fill silences with noise. "For everyone," she said. He didn't argue. He thanked her again, quietly, like he meant it, and left. She sat with her hands flat on the desk for a long time after he was gone. She spoke the old refusal 3 days later, in the formal language of wolf law, before a witness from the capital office. She said the words correctly. She signed her name. She walked home and made tea. That should have been it. It was not it. Caelum Draven went to the Elder Circle. The Elder Circle was 12 wolves who had been alive longer than the current dynasty, and who held a kind of authority that had nothing to do with politics and everything to do with time. They did not get involved in court gossip. They did not weigh in on trade disputes or succession drama. They existed for the deep matters, the permanent ones. Apparently, a refused mate bond counted. Sarah found out on a Thursday when her co-worker Bryn dropped a stack of treaty papers on her desk, pointed at the top sheet, and said, "That's you, isn't it? The girl from archives." The top sheet was a formal petition, stamped with the elder seal. It named her. It named Caelum. It named the bond. She read it twice. She set it down. She picked up her pen and went back to the border survey she'd been cross-referencing, because the survey was not going to file itself, and nothing in her life had prepared her for this exact situation. The Elder Circle set a deadline of 30 days. If Sarah maintained her refusal, the bond would remain, unaccepted, unclosed, slowly wearing on them both the way an unset fracture wears on a bone. If she accepted, she would become Luna. If she neither accepted nor refused properly, Caelum would be required by kingdom law to take another mate within the year. The kingdom could not have a king without a Luna. The law was old. It did not care about Sarah's feelings on the matter. Caelum requested a private meeting. She agreed because she preferred to choose her own problems rather than have them arrive unannounced. He met her in the small east courtyard, neutral ground, no throne room theatrics, and he was kind to her. That was the thing she had not prepared for. She had prepared for authority, for certainty, for the quiet pressure of a man who was used to getting what he wanted. He was none of those things. He asked her questions. He listened to the answers. When she said she valued her work in the archives, he didn't smile politely and change the subject. He asked which territories she found most interesting to catalog. She said the southern borders, because the rivers there changed course every generation and required constant updating. He said he'd ridden the southern borders twice, and the river near the Voss Ridge was nothing like the maps showed. She said she knew. She'd flagged that survey 2 years ago, and no one had sent a new cartographer. He said he'd send one. She did not know what to do with him. The anger she kept for situations like this, old, reliable, a thing she'd been reaching for since she was 16 years old, rose up in her chest, like a familiar hand on her shoulder. She held on to it. It steadied her. "You're being kind to me," she said, "because you want something." "I want you to not be afraid of me," he said. "That's all I want today." She walked home and sat on her floor and thought, "Don't go soft on me now," addressed to no one in particular, maybe herself. The 30 days moved. Caelum made inquiries about her. She knew because the border pack contacts she still had sent her small notes. "The king's men are asking about your family," and she filed those too, in a drawer she labeled miscellaneous, because she was a person who organized things when she was unsettled. He was trying to understand her from the outside, from records, from other people's accounts. She thought, he still hasn't just asked me. She also thought, if he asks me, I'll have to answer. She was not sure which was worse. On the 28th day, the summons arrived. Both of them. The Elder Circle wanted them present together. The Elder Hall was underground, deeper than the archives. The 12 wolves who sat in the carved stone circle looked like something between a council and a landscape, old in the way mountains are old, heavy with accumulated time. The eldest had white eyes, not from age, but from something older than age. Sarah walked in, like she walked into the archives. She sat where they told her to sit. Caelum sat across the circle from her. He looked at her when she entered. She looked at the floor mosaic, wolves running in a circle, chasing something that was not there. The eldest spoke. He was not cruel. He explained what an unclosed bond did to a wolf over time, not dramatically, not as a warning, but the way you explain a weather pattern to someone who will have to live through it, quietly, factually. Sarah already knew. She had filed the records. She knew what happened to borders that were never properly drawn. The eldest looked at her. His voice was the same careful, matter-of-fact tone. "What is it you are afraid of, child?" The room was quiet. She looked at the floor mosaic. She knew she had filed the name of the artist who had made it once, and she couldn't remember it now. She said, "Being left again." She said it the way you set something heavy down after carrying it for too long. Not with drama, just with relief at the floor being there to hold it. No one spoke. She did not look up. Then there was a sound, the soft shift of fabric, of someone standing, not her, across the circle. She looked up. Caelum was on his feet. The elders went still, because a king does not stand in the elder circle without permission. He stood anyway. He crossed the circle, 12 steps, slow and steady, and he stopped in front of her, and he went down on his knees. Both knees. On the stone floor, in front of 12 wolves who had outlasted 3 dynasties and would write this into the permanent record. He said, "I spent 6 weeks learning everything about you from people who don't know you. I should have asked you. I'm asking now." She looked at him. The Alpha King of the 7 territories was on the floor. She reached for the anger. The old, reliable thing. The hand on the shoulder that had steadied her since she was 16. It wasn't there. She thought, moon-forsaken. She said, "Get up, you look ridiculous." He didn't get up. The silence had teeth. She looked at him for a long time. His face was serious. Not performing, not calculating, just present, there, waiting in a way that said he would wait as long as it took, and he understood that was not nothing. She said, quietly, for him, not for the room, "If you leave me, I will not survive it a second time. You understand that? That is not a feeling. That is a fact." He said, "I know." 2 words, steady, like a border marker placed in the ground. She exhaled slowly. She said, "I need you to always ask me, not inquire through other people, not read my file. Ask me. Whatever you want to know, ask me directly." "Yes," he said. "And I keep my position in the archives. Of course. I'm not giving up the Southern Border Survey project. I'm sending a cartographer next month. You can brief him yourself." She looked at him on the floor. She thought about the ink that had spread across the stone 6 weeks ago while she watched it, and thought about cleaning it up. She thought about the border rivers that changed course every generation, that had to be remapped and re-understood, that were never quite what the old documents said they were. She thought, some things cannot be filed away. She said, "You may get up now." He did. She was back in the archives the next morning, before anyone else arrived. Quiet shoes. Back corner desk. The Southern Border Surveys stacked neatly to her left. She made tea on the small iron burner Bryn kept by the window. She opened the top survey, the Voss Ridge River, the one that hadn't matched its own map in 40 years, and set her pen to the margin notes column. There was something on her desk that hadn't been there the night before. A document, folded once, with a note clipped to the front in handwriting she had not seen before but recognized anyway, the kind of handwriting that belonged to someone who had been signing official documents since childhood. Formal, but not cold. "Thought you'd want this. See." She unfolded it. It was the Southern Border Survey, the new one. The cartographer had been sent early. The Voss Ridge River had been properly mapped at last, its true course marked in clean, careful ink, different from every previous version, finally honest about where it actually ran. Sarah sat with it for a moment. She did not smile where anyone could see. She picked up her pen. She began to file.